Aloreing is a comedy folklore podcast where your hosts Kimmy and Ryan discuss the history and sightings of different lore from around the world. We laugh at many parts of these legends, but we would never laugh at the rich cultures that we explore or the cultural significance of the lore we discuss. We encourage additional research on these topics since our focus is on the lore more than the facts. This podcast also contains graphic and explicit content that may not be suitable for young listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hi everyone, my name is Kimmy, and I'm here with my co-host Ryan.
Hey guys, welcome back to Aloreing, our folklore podcast, where we tell you the stories and legends of different lore from around the world.
One day I'm going to figure out like a sign dance thing to do as you say that, so all of our Patreon listeners can see me white girl it in the background.
Just like to point out, I got it on the first try. I know the listeners only hear it once, but yes, thank you.
We sometimes takes a minute, but it's just us warming up our voices. Well, let's do this. Ryan, do you want to tell me what you find alluring this week?
Oh yeah. So your boy's fully vaccinated. Got that Moderna pumping through the veins. Finally got to go back to the movies. Unfortunately, that movie was Mortal Kombat, but that being said, it was still fun to get like popcorn and a drink and like sit in a theater again, because that's my favorite thing in the world, and I haven't been to a movie since like 2019.
Well, you know, the great thing is that's the only time you can see a kind of trash movie.
Exactly.
Is because the joy of everything else overcomes.
Yeah, 1 out of 10 movie, 10 out of 10 experience.
Okay, I have to know what Rotten Tomatoes says about Mortal Kombat real quick.
Nothing good.
I don't know. I like my fighter games, but I like them sexy, not gory. Ooh, yeah. Okay. So a lot of the audience loves it. It's like 86 right now. But critics are like 50.
I think it's an 86 for the exact same reason we just talked about, of like people are like, yes, I'm back at the theaters. Like, what a great movie I just saw, ignoring everything like, terrible about it.
They're like, this is art. So I'll say for our Aloreing thing, Ed and I went to the movies and we saw Demon Slayer, and that was a good one. I don't know how much into anime you are. Right?
I don't watch a whole lot of it, but I know about a lot of it, and I'm familiar with Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer is a really good one, and we went and we watched it, and I ugly cried, which is always a good sign of a great film, because like I cry at everything, but to like get me to ugly cry, it was the worst. I forgot in theaters when I cry, I have to like be quiet, because it was like this quiet scene, like the plot, like the climax of the plot just happened, and I just went like out loud.
Oh no.
And Edgar just looked at me and he's like, you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. And I like have my glasses on and I'm trying to like wipe my tears under my glasses.
Oh no.
And I was like, I'm a mess. So I miss the theater as well, but I don't miss crying in a theater.
Being able to sit judgment free on your couch instead of in front of 100 strangers.
I know. And I'm like, I'm not a quiet crier. I'm like it's always like when it gets quiet, I'm like sniffly. And I'm like trying not to. So, well, Okay, I just totally rode your boat on what is lore.
Oh, that's fine. The
when I
movies
found
are
out
very
this.
alluring, and it's a great time to be alive.
Theaters are great. Did you get popcorn
Oh,
too?
yeah. Too
I
much popcorn, I'd say.
Same. I haven't had movie theater popcorn like before when we were able to. I just never liked it, and I this last time I went, I was like, wow, movie theater popcorn's the best thing
Yeah.
I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And then I got sick after because my body could not handle it.
Yeah.
But I had a moment where I understood.
AMC movie theater popcorn is my favorite snack, like, in the world. I have definitely gone and just bought popcorn and have not seen a movie. Just brought it home. No shame.
So is that you telling people to mail us?
Yeah.
AMC
Yeah. So
popcorn?
if you have any AMC like gift certificates that you can't use, hit me up.
Even if it's $1, it adds up.
It adds up
Just
eventually.
send them to Ryan.
Yeah. Popcorn's what, like $15? So $1 at a time.
That's how we make it.
Right. Well, you want to jump into your story?
Hell yeah, I do. Okay. So, our episode, we are doing themed episodes for a lot of them, and this week we're talking about tiny and tough creatures in folklore. So, starting with mine. So, have you noticed a cleaner home lately, but you haven't picked up a broom in a few weeks? Maybe the cake you left out seems a little bit smaller than you last left it, or maybe you felt that you have been losing or misplacing things around the home. Well, if that's the case, there may be a hardworking creature that is responsible for all of it, hiding it somewhere in your home, or they're hiding in a forest nearby. This week, I will be talking about brownies. And since there's so many different types of brownies all over the world, and they all go by different names, and this is like, we try to make it at max an hour show each episode, we will be talking about Scottish folklore surrounding brownies. So, I don't know, do you know a lot about?
I'm pretty familiar with like fudge brownies, maybe like peanut butter brownies, about 350, 20 minutes.
Okay. you always gotta like hit the pan a little.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tap it around a little. Yeah, that's the extent of my knowledge about brownies.
Well, you don't want to tap these brownies, for many reasons. So, the brownies appear as short and thick brown-skinned creatures covered in a variety of hair, and they vary a bit in size. So the earliest account of brownies suggests they were the same size as a human, but as time went on, they were described as small creatures about a foot tall. These tiny creatures also have large coal-black eyes, pointed ears with visible wrinkles, and short, curly brown hair. Brownies are typically men, but on the off chance you do see a female brownie, you will be in for a fright. Their ugly appearance has only been described as terrifying and unsettling for humans who witness it. And then, along with their more grungy appearance, they're also known for wearing very simplistic clothing considered of worn-out rags in various earth tones or a white tunic. And some even dislike clothes so much they choose to walk around in the nude.
Nice.
So, that's their appearance, and now their personality. Brownies are kind, hardworking creatures that search for a home they can live in and show their appreciation by cleaning and doing chores. Since they are kind-hearted creatures, they want to live with someone who will appreciate them, so they will explore a village until they find the home of a good, humble, and honest person. However, these bastards are easily offended. If they feel their work is going unnoticed or they are underappreciated, they will never come back to your home.
Wow.
So, I have made a fun little list of how to offend a brownie and have them leave your house. So, the first one is misuse or take advantage of them. There are stories of owners who have discovered brownies lurking in their home. And since brownies are hard workers and they clean and do chores and all this stuff, they would fire the household servants to get free work out of the brownies. But since the brownies don't like to be taken advantage of, they would pull pranks and make messes until the owners of the home would hire the workers again. So
Good for them.
They're good guys.
Yeah.
Right? They would be in charge of a union.
Yeah,
is kind
that's
of
what I was thinking. No scabs here.
No scabs here. And then, so there's also stories that suggest if they aren't being appreciated by people, or if the owners of the home stop believing in them, they will disappear completely or leave to the fairyland, which I don't know a lot about, but I assume it's a land of fairies.
Sounds nice.
So, but the next thing is do not criticize or laugh at their work. And this includes nitpicking their work or how they clean different areas of the house. So, like, when you're about to do the dishes or you do the dishes and your parents come and they're like, you should have done them this way, and then you don't want to do it. That's a way to offend a brownie.
This is hands down the most relatable creature we've ever talked about. Like every one of these.
It gets better. It's like, you know what? There's two you may be like, nah. Okay.
We'll see.
So the next one is you refer to any gift you place out for them as a payment for their hard work. They don't want your money. They want your gratitude, which is nice. That is trade workers' dreams right there. So
gratitude doesn't pay the bills.
That's true. Pay your artist. Hashtag pay your artist. Pay your artist. Okay, anyway, it's fine. I'm not passionate about that or anything. The next one, really interesting. You try and give them some clothes. Because you look at these little creatures, you're like, you know what, buddy? I'm going to make you look fly. AF. And they don't want that. They just don't want your clothes. And there was one brownie that was gifted clothing, and out of anger, he shouted, "Red breeks and ruffled scarf, you know, get me to your walk." Wow, that voice was way better
Nailed
than
it.
I thought it was going to be. I
thought there was a brownie here
D&D.
for a minute.
You turned around. I saw you turn around in your chair. But they just, I don't know. They have their style. Don't change them. They're here to work and have a good time. And then the next thing is do not get a pet cat. They do not like cats. And they won't clean your home if you have one.
They're probably worried about getting eaten.
Yes, that's exactly why they don't. Like, because cats will, like, kind of poke fun at them. And because it's a cat. Cats are curious, you know. They just don't want to deal with it. Respectfully, you know. Like, I love me a kitty, but if I was a foot tall and I was cleaning, I would not.
Not so much.
It just makes sense. No. And like everything, the Catholics have to get in on this. So you try to baptize them, or you trick them into being baptized. Consent is consent.
Exactly.
And then the last one is if you're a liar, a prankster, an immoral person, a murderer, or just plain evil. They don't want your bad energy.
Fair.
So if you click on the next slide, brownies are jerks, and they can be malicious. And you can see from this photo that he has tripped this guy with a rake down the stairs, and he has a smug little smile on his face as the dude is falling in pain.
Ouch.
Just makes me laugh. I I saw that and I was like, there's no way. I was like, I looked at it a little confused. I'm like, is he being rude?
Just laughing.
And yeah, he's having a great day. This is just a fun Saturday for him. So, brownies can become malicious, and if they notice someone, so an individual in the home is a liar, a murderer, or just being a dick, they will go out of their way to steal things from them, mess up the home, or just prank them constantly. They will also punish lazy household servants by causing mischief, pinching them in their sleep, or breaking objects around them. They also hate being referred to as fairies, and may physically harm someone if they call them a fairy.
Wow.
And then finally, because I find this to be adorable, brownies are quite social with one another. So they will actually have family reunions and meet with other brownies or fairies, and they will gather in desolate areas near rocks. So if someone comes and pops out that's human, they can hide really quickly. So that's a little bit about their personalities. I feel like they're very like human, like a person that just wants respect.
Yeah, they're like I said, they're definitely the most relatable of the like fairy creatures we've gone up. I'm not fairies though, so I don't want to get beat up by a brownie.
There's a little one in your house that just pops up behind you and like squints and does like the eye thing and sulks back down.
I've noticed a trend over these past few months of fairy tale and like creatures pinching people.
Really?
Yeah, like pinching seems to be like one of the like quintessential like mischief maker. Like Chloricons had pinching. That's the only one that comes, but it just seems like it always comes back to pinching people, and I don't know when like pinching died off, but I can't tell you the last time I've been pinched.
I think it's a kid thing. I think it's a very like childish
Yeah.
act to pinch. Because when you pinch a person as an adult, you're like, why the hell did you pinch
Exactly.
me? You know? It's like, were you trying to like goose me, but you missed or something? Like it's. But as a child, you pinch because you want to be a jerk a little, you know. But you don't want to like stab or punch a person. Yeah. I think it's like violence without violence.
That makes sense. It's mischief.
Yes. Plus, it'd be funny to imagine someone starting a fight by pinching another person.
Exactly.
You can't start a fight by pinching
like,
another person.
Call me a fairy, just like
weird.
Start pinching them.
I didn't even realize. Oh, well, that's fantastic. Well, let me tell you about the history of these creatures. So, the earliest English reference of these kind-hearted creatures came from 1513, but it's assumed that brownies have been around for much longer due to the early Scottish ballads that would refer to them as the wee brown men. It wasn't until the 16th century in Scottish lowlands and along the English border that they start to be called brownies. So, there's another little delightful picture of the brownie sweeping and cleaning, and they're so interesting because they like seem to be described to have like longer limbs too. And you'll notice that looking at the artwork. So, what are brownies? Well, brownies are regarded to be distinct and different from fairies, but there are many, many differences between the two. Brownies are kind and harmless unless angered, and typically dwell alongside humans. Fairies, on the other hand, are full of tricks and can be very dangerous with no motives at all. Fairies also choose to avoid humans and live in the wilderness. And finally, brownies are more solo creatures, where fairies are found typically in groups. So, brownies get called fairies a lot, but they're not. And there's It's really interesting. So I'll go into why. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited. I wanted to talk about this for so long, you guys. So it's surprising that brownies are compared to fairies so much when their personalities are more closely tied with elves and spirits. So around the 17th century in Scotland, brownies were sometimes regarded as a ghost or a creature associated with the dead, which is where the idea of it being a spirit came from. They were described as domestic tolerary. I didn't look up. I normally put how to say the word next to the word, and I fucked up, and I didn't put that there. So, tutelary spirits, which are very similar to lairs, a protective spirit of ancestors who passed away in Roman traditions. So, since brownies and lairs both devote themselves to serving members of the household, dress in rags, request offerings, and live in solitude, the idea of a brownie being a spirit was popularized because there are so many connections. And then this idea of them being a tiny spirit, because lars are bigger like people start to miscategorize them as fairies. Which makes sense, it's just the non-understanding of it. And then, of course, Christianity has affected how people view brownies. So, during the time of Kings James the 7th, is VI 7? VI 6. King James the 6th. And if we are wrong, you can feel right at home and that you are the correct person.
Because IV would be 4, V is 5, VI would be 6.
Okay, that's why I was getting confuzzled. Okay, so during the time of King James the 6th, he described them as demons in his 1597 Demonology.
Demonology?
Oh my god, that's the word. Wow, I even put how to say it right here.
I'd just like to point out the script says demonology.
Oh my god, I got it in my head. That's okay. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan didn't know when he was signing up to be a co-host. He was signing up to check my stuff.
I'm just here to fact check and read Roman numerals.
He also has my show notes up just to help me. Oh my god. Okay, so regardless of what a brownie is categorized under, it's clear they're not fairies, elves, demons, or spirits, but they are just brownies. So don't call them fairies if you've learned anything.
They're going to show up.
Unless you want to start a fight.
They're going to pinch you.
That's the sound of them pinching. So let's talk about the legend. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so time of the lore surrounding these creatures, brownies are known to bring household prosperity to the homes or farms they inhabited. Wherever these creatures reside, they will perform a variety of chores and help with housework. So they do almost everything imaginable, from domestic tasks of weeding, sweeping, dishes, churning butter. If you're still doing that, they'll do that, and much more. And they will do all of these tasks at night. And that's because they don't like to be seen or to socialize with humans. They're not about it. So if you're hearing strange noises at night, it's probably a brownie being a busy little bee. So if you click, there's a cute little picture of a brownie feeding a horse. And I just found it quite charming. And that horse just seems super chill with him too, which I would be terrified if a little human came up to me at night.
Well, humans are probably little to a horse,
Oh, that's actually fair.
This is just an even more little person.
He's like, oh, they come in mini versions? Frank, come look at this. So, brownies in your home. So now after hearing about what a brownie is, I bet you are wondering how to have one come visit your home. Well, I got a handy dandy list of how to welcome one with open arms. The first is leave out a treat. They love milk, honey, porridge, cake, and of course, ale. Because who doesn't love a good ale? And then the next one is know they are motivated by personal friendships and fancies. So be genuine with them. Brownies love to develop a strong friendship with the people who reside in the home. Proof of this is that there's a tale of a brownie from Blaquem that fetched the midwife when the lady of the house went into labor. And I love that visual of never seeing a brownie until the lady of the house goes into labor and you're the midwife and you turn to see this little creature like, is she coming?
Something starts pinching your leg and you're like, what the heck is that? You look down, a little brownie.
And the fact that the child isn't born yet, you would be like, well, it can't be the child. Yeah. And you look down. And then finally, give them a place to relax, aka the brownie sway. Nice. So the brownie sway is equivalent to the value of that one chair your father or grandpa loves, no matter how awful or old or terrible it is, kind of thing. So traditionally, the pot hook that was used to hang pots over the fireplace in the 19th century was referred to as the brownie seat. So in Herefordshire, there we go. If a hood didn't have a crook on it, people would hang a horseshoe upside down on it, so the brownie would have a place to sit.
Adorable.
Pure, and I love it. And now, if you follow these steps, a brownie does decide to live in your home, it's important to know they will stay in an unused part of your home. So they'll be in an attic, a cellar, a hidden room, or an outdoor shed. And they will also spend their nights near a fireplace since they love to get cozy. So let them have their little space.
Yeah. They work hard. They nap even harder.
Who doesn't? Exactly. Words to live by. Work hard, nap harder. And then the final part of my story is I have some sightings and stories of these glorious little creatures. So I have 4 of them, and they're all fairly short, but I love it because it shows all the different kinds of personalities. So the first one is I didn't look up all the words for this story, even though I read it over it 3 times. It's fine. In Stanton-on-Way at Porway Inn, a brownie was known for stealing the family's keys. So the only way the family could retrieve these keys was to sit around the fireplace and set out a piece of cake as an offering to the brownie. The family would then sit there and close their eyes, being absolutely silent as they waited. Then the brownie, appeased by the offer, would take some cake and hurl the missing keys from behind the family.
Not gently lay it where the plate was. He just runs out and just, throws the key on the way out.
I like to imagine he makes that sound you just did.
I love it.
So I love that one. Because it's just, imagine working at the inn on your first day. You're like, where'd the keys go? And they're like, the brownie takes it.
You gotta bake a cake.
You're like, listen, there's a whole procedure. It's page 7 of the employer handbook.
Put on your helmet, make some cake, close your eyes, hope for the best.
I love that so much, though. Okay, so the next one is about a brownie at Cronshaw in Berwickshire, and it was known to moan and thrash the grains for years. And one day, a human commented that the grains had been poorly molded and stacked. The brownie heard that and took great offense to it, since he works so hard. Yeah. Why you gotta criticize his work after all these years? Right? So that night, he carried all the grains 2 miles down the way to Raven Craig and hurled it off the hill. The best part is as he hurled it off the hill, he muttered the following. Let me see if I can do this again.
It's not well mowed, it's not well mowed. There it's near be mowed by me again. I scatter it toward the raven stand, and I'll have some worky to mowed again.
Perfect.
So
I thought there was a
rough on
brownie
your
here
throat.
for a minute.
Did you hear the grains being thrown over the hillside? But I thought that was very funny because he was like, fine, I'll take my hard work and toss it.
No one gets
And now they
grain.
don't. Yep, you don't like what I'm doing, then no one gets it. So he's a petty one, and I respect that because you gotta know what you're
Exactly.
about. And then the next one, this one is interesting because it's actually about naming a brownie. So the brownie of Almore Burn near Pitlochry in Perthshire was known to play around in the water all day and during the evening. When he was done, he'd walk around the farm with his wet feet splashing and leaving a trail. If anything was untidy, he would put it in order, but if it was tidy, he would make it a mess. The people in the area weren't too fond of this brownie and actually feared him, resulting in locals avoiding the roads leading to the waters at night. Then, one evening, a man returning from the market heard splashes and called out to him, addressing him as Puddlefoot. Well, the brownie wasn't too keen on this and exclaimed in horror, "I've got a name! 'Tis Puzzlefoot they call me!" And he vanished, never to be heard of again.
He really did not like that name, I guess.
I wouldn't want to be called Puddlefoot.
There's worse names.
There are
Yeah,
worse
it's kind
names.
of cool, you know.
He could have owned it.
Yeah.
He could have made it his thing. It could have been his brand
Yeah,
identity.
exactly.
And then, finally, one of my favorites is the response a brownie had to being offered a gift. And this gift was actually clothes. So I thought this was super interesting. So the owners of the household noticed how hard the brownie worked and considered him to be a close friend. He's worked there for years and they wanted to show their appreciation for him. So they gifted him some clothes. Typically, when you give clothes to a brownie, they're not happy campers. But the brownie of Claude Laud of Hilton was so thankful when he received the clothes from the owners of the home, he sang the following upon receiving his gift.
Was me, the acorn not yet fallen from the tree. That's to grow in the woods, that's to make the cradle, that's to rock the bairn, that's to grow a man, that's to lay to me.
And after taking his gift, he vanished as happy as can be, never to be seen from the household again. So that's like the Scottish folklore surrounding brownies. So remember, kids, if you want to keep a brownie around, don't be a dick. Appreciate them. And don't forget to never give them new clothes, because happy or not, they will disappear forever. And that's my little...
It kind of sucks, you know. You're like, man, this guy's great. You give him a shirt, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna head out. And
Yeah, well, it's like Dobby.
yeah,
From
that makes sense.
Harry
Yeah.
Potter. Well, those were my awful brownie voices. I hope you guys loved every terrible second and how they were all slightly different. I don't know how I managed that, but it happened. So, as a quick reminder, if you want to create some type of art inspired by this creature or the one Ryan's going to discuss, check out our Instagram for our episode drawing prompts, because we want to see what you create and you can tag us in it. And now, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Taylor.
Hi, I'm Jenny.
Are you into ghosts, aliens, or murder? It's okay if you do, because we love terrible things too.
It's why we started our podcast, A Little Bit Grim.
We talk about the paranormal,
True crime,
folklore,
cults,
conspiracies,
some disasters.
and every other heinous thing that could possibly happen to a person.
It's a little bit spooky,
It's a little bit funny,
and it's a little bit grim.
and you can find us wherever you like to stream your podcasts.
And find us on your favorite social media platforms.
We'll see you there.
Goodbye.
When it comes to creating a website, it can become very overwhelming very quickly. And this is coming from someone who had to take classes on web design to get her degree. So after a few years of not working on a website and knowing I was going to have to make the podcast website in like a week, I was beyond overwhelmed and stressed and scared. But thankfully, I found Bluehost. Bluehost has everything your website needs from startup to success, and they are there to help you every step of the way. I personally love it because I was able to design a website without worrying about code. I could just use one of their free templates to create my site.
And with Bluehost, you can get started quick. Simply name your website, select the design template, and start building with the right hosting plan. There are tons of ways you can design your site, along with marketing tools, analytics, and scalable growth. Bluehost really has your back every step of the way. On top of all that, they also have low monthly fees, a free domain name for your first year, and one-click WordPress installation with 24/7 support.
And when they say 24/7 support, they mean it. I have had way too many late night calls in the black of night, and yet every time I call their customer support, they are absolutely fantastic. They have always helped resolve any issues quickly and have been just a blessing about it.
If you want to try it for yourself, go to aloreing.com/sponsors and click on our Bluehost banner and start your own website today.
Are you wanting to start a podcast but have no idea what to do? Where to start, or even what it means to monetize your podcast? Well, let me tell you about Buzzsprout. Once upon a time, I was wanting to start a podcast, but I had no idea what I was doing. So me, a mere maiden who became lost in the forest of potential podcast hosting sites, was unsure and confused on which would lead me down the right path. Then, a beautiful knight by the name of Buzzsprout rode up on its white stallion, took my hand, and showed me the ways of podcasting. And since then, I've never looked back because Buzzsprout has given me everything I need to start my own podcast.
The reason Buzzsprout may seem like Kimmy's knight in shining armor is because it's really a one-stop shop for starting your podcast. On Buzzsprout, you can promote, track, and host all your podcasts in one place. They provide tools to help you get your podcast listed on all the top podcast directories and reach millions of potential listeners by listening your podcast on platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitch, and more. And if you're an analytics nerd like me, they also provide advanced podcast statistics to track your progress. You can really get to know your listeners, see all different stats like your downloads, what app they're listening on, where they're listening from, and this really helped us grow our audience.
And they also have tons of resources on how to monetize and market your podcast. They provide many tips and tricks from script writing, editing your episodes, recording tips, getting sponsors, and so much more.
So, what are you waiting for? Simply go to our website, aloreing.com/sponsors, and click on the Buzzsprout banner and become one of the 100,000 plus podcasts that Buzzsprout has helped start today. All right, we're back. Weren't those great ads?
Every time I feel moved.
All right. Well, I am here to tell you about dwarves. There's
What on God's green earth
those
is
are
that?
dwarves. So there's a
That's
lot
not a dwarf.
of dwarf stories. Obviously, it's in many different like Germanic cultures. So we're gonna focus specifically today on the Norse mythology of dwarves. So dwarves are creatures and skillful beings in Norse mythology. They came into existence from the rotting flesh of the giant Ymir after being killed by Odin. So that's what you would see pictured for our video listeners.
Okay.
So dwarves essentially started off as little maggots coming out of a giant.
Ugh, no. Okay, cool. I hate everything.
Yeah.
happening now. I can't do with the crawly or the. Okay.
So when the Aesir, which is basically like the original gods, Odin, Freya, Tyr, he saw them and they're like, we can make these guys into like human-like creatures. So they made them human-like, gave them intelligence. So as we mentioned, dwarves are skilled craftsmen and that they've crafted some of the best objects in the world. The two dwarves, Broker and Eitri, are the ones who made Odin's ring, Thor's hammer, Freya's ship, but we're going to discuss that later on.
So, did they see the heads of these creatures on the maggots, and they're like, let me play God like I am for one moment?
Yeah. They saw potential for... So, without going into, like... the entire Norse mythology after, and correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, after Odin killed Ymir, basically that giant is what became like the world. So yeah. So
that's cool.
As I mentioned, dwarves are mentioned as being short, small, and often pitch black in appearance, which is quite different from like the muscular, stoic dwarves with big muscles that you see in like modern, like Tolkien movies, and they come from a place called Svalt. I'm gonna butcher this. Svartalheim, one of the 9 realms of Norse mythology.
I don't even know how you said that. I looked at that and my brain just had dial-up noise go through.
So most modern, like the look of modern dwarves comes from Lord of the Rings. So Tolkien, that's where all of the like buff dwarves with big beards come from. But yeah, before that they were, I mean, almost like brownies, like, or like dark elves, you know, like really skinny, really like malnourished, like pitch black. Yeah.
Weird.
And
I just, what were you in that one game we were playing? We were playing a game about Dungeons and Dungeons, and maybe there was dragons in it.
yeah, but not at the same time.
But not at the same time, because they copyright a lot of stuff, and we're a small podcast. Were you a dwarf fighter? Is that what it was?
I was a dwarf barbarian, which is very different from these Nordic dwarves because they,
yeah. Okay, because that's what I think of. Is like that character you had, which is a lot like the one from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and that's where most like modern dwarves come from. That or like Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. Like that's what people picture more so.
Okay.
And they're the place they come from, Svartalfheim. I'm say it wrong every time. Technically, like translates to like the land of dark elves. So there's a good chance in the original mythology that dwarves are dark elves. That kind of just took on a role of their own as people started writing about them in modern times.
I think like all these tiny creatures come from elves.
Yeah. Yeah, they all have very similar upbringings, you know.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay, that's fine. I don't know how I feel about that.
So I have so obviously the dwarves are who made Thor's hammer and all the cool things that the like Norse gods have. So I have the story of how all these were made.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm just gonna catch my breath. It's gonna be a wall. Okay.
Take a drink right
so
now.
One day, Loki the trickster found himself in an especially mischievous mood and cut off the gorgeous golden hair of Sif, the wife of Thor. When Thor learned of this,
No.
yeah, very rude.
Sorry. I'm going to stop right now. Do not cut another person's hair. Like, no, it's not a prank. It's not funny. You're a dick.
Especially
Okay,
the wife
sorry.
of the god of thunder.
Why? Why would you be like, oh, I know what prank my brother's going to find funny if I cut his wife's hair. Don't do that.
So,
I'll
yeah.
never. I just like a quick anecdote. I know you just started. I will never forget. In what was it? Middle school or junior high? I think it was middle school when I won't say what school I was going to, but I will never forget. I was in math class and this girl, she's kind of a jerk, but like her hair was braided and it was long and she would like throw it on the boy's desk behind her and he was done. One day he was done and they're in the back of the classroom and he cut her braid. He got a good like 10 inches of it off. I've never seen pure chaos in my life till I witnessed that moment.
That child's name was Loki.
That child's name was... Actually, no. Anyway, don't do it. Oh, don't do it. Okay.
So obviously this pissed Thor off, who threatened to break every bone in Loki's body. An understandable response. Good. However, Loki pleaded with the thunder god to let him go down to where the dwarves are and
perfect.
Basically hire some dwarves to create these like masterpiece. So there he was able to obtain what he desired. The sons of dwarfs I said all these right before and I was like, I got it. The son of the dwarf Ivaldi forgot not only a new head of hair, forged not only a head of hair for Sif, but also two marvels, Skin Blander, which was a sail that always caught wind and can be folded into the pocket, and Gungnir, which was a spear very similar to Thor's hammer Mjolnir. So,
they helped Loki out way more than they needed to.
See, and Loki could have stopped right there, right? Because he did what he said.
Right.
But no. Having accomplished his task, Loki was overcome by an urge to remain in the caves of the dwarves and revel in more recklessness. He approached the brothers, Brokir, the ones we mentioned, right?
No, it's like Thor's in a car and his brother's like, oh, I'm going to pop one of the tires. Mm-hmm. And Loki pops the tire of the car. And Thor's like, go ask the dwarves to give me a new tire. And then he goes to the dwarves and the dwarves are like, here's a new tire. Hey, you know what else we got for you? We got a piece of cake. We got some wine for you. You know what? We'll make the woman happy. We got some Bon Jovi tunes, And they gave it to him and he was like, you know what? Fuck you guys for helping me out so well.
So he approached the brothers, Brokir and Eitri, and taunted them, saying that he wasn't sure the brothers could ever forge 3 new creations equal to the sons of Ivaldi. In fact, he bet his head on their lack of ability. Obviously, they accepted the wager. So they got working. As they worked, a fly, who was, of course, Loki disguised as a fly, stung Eitri's hand when the dwarf was pulling his creation out of the fire. It was a living boar with golden hair. It gave off light in the dark and could run better than any horse on water or air. So basically, they crafted a golden boar for them to ride. Loki tried to stop him. Didn't work. Eitri then set another piece of gold on the fire as Brokir worked the bellows. The fly bit Brokir on the neck, and Sinji drew out a magnificent ring. Droopnir from the ring. Every 9 nights, 8 new gold rings fall off of equal weight. So it's just a ring. Keeps making rings. So each
Is that where the rings from Sonic the Hedgehog come
yeah,
from?
exactly where they come from actually. I mean, that almost seems
All the
inconvenient.
dots.
Like every 9 nights you have 8 rings, you got to figure out what to do with them.
Well, Sonic's got a train.
Yeah. So for their final thing, Eitri then put iron to the hearth and told Broker that for this next task they must be especially meticulous, for a mistake would be more costly than with the previous 2 projects. Loki then immediately stung Broker in the eye so that he could not see, preventing him from properly seeing his work. Eitri produced a hammer of unsurpassed quality which never missed its mark and would boomerang back off its own after being thrown, but it had one flaw. The handle was short because Eitri couldn't see. Eitri was very mad that he almost ruined this piece, which they called Mjolnir. Nevertheless, sure of its great worth of their 3 treasures, Eitri and Broker made their way to Asgard to claim the wages that were due to them.
Good.
So
They need workers' comp with that,
yeah,
too.
that's what I'm saying.
After all this damage.
Loki's like, yeah, he like bets these.
Loki's
He's
a
a dick.
dick.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it.
I don't know. I feel like even like when with Marvel, a lot of people thirsted after Loki. I'm like, but he's a
Yeah.
dick, you guys. Does like no one realize he would cut your hair? This is what it is. You would be dating him, and one day he'd just cut your hair because it's a prank, and it's funny.
Then you'd hire some people to
No.
make you a wig, and then say, "I'm gonna trick some other people into making you something as well." So Loki.
And then he'll make those people
Exactly.
blind.
So Loki made it to the halls of the gods before the dwarves and presented the marvels he had acquired. To Thor he gave Sif's new hair and the hammer Mjolnir. To Odin went the ring Droupnir and the spear Gungnir. And Freya was happy to receive Skinbladnir, which was the sail, and Gulbristi, which was the boar, the golden boar. As grateful as the gods were to receive these gifts, especially Mjolnir, which foresaw would be very important in their battle against the giants, which is a whole nother story, they nevertheless concluded that Loki owed the dwarves his head. However, when the dwarves approached Loki to take his head, Loki pointed out, "Where's the head begin? On my neck, you know, like you can't cut my head off because I don't owe you my neck, just my head." So they settled on just sewing his mouth shut and returned to their forge. Which I love that.
Well, I like that. That's petty. I like the petty.
Exactly.
He was like, well, he's like, I got no neck.
Yeah,
what you gonna do? How are you gonna work with this? And they're like, shut up. I want to shut him up. They're like, you can shut him up. Do it. And they're like, yeah, we're going to do that. That's the one we want to do.
And here's the slide with like the walkthrough of it. I forgot to show it, but yeah, I like how different, like
cool.
They're not these like big buff like hammer wielding dudes you see from like Lord of the Rings. They're honestly they're kind of like like pixies or like they're tiny little guys. So
Yeah. I like that. They feel a lot like the ancestors of brownies to me.
Yeah, in a way.
They're really hard workers. They're really proud of their work, you know.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, okay. So, sorry, I wasn't ready.
No, I wasn't either.
Ready at all.
We'll cut back, go back, rewind. But
well, I loved your story. I thought it was really cool because I always thought of dwarfs as like from that magical game we play with dice, rocks, and stuff. But anyway, before we go into our Aloreing chart, we do have a quick announcement. When this episode is out, we will have a new collection of merch in our shop known as the Aloreing Tarot Collection. So it's whimsical and cryptid inspired, and we hope you guys love it as much as us. Plus, we have a bunch of other great merch on there, so you can get something stylish and support the podcast. I have made the art for it, so it also means a lot in my little artist heart. And you can go check it out at aloreing.com/shop today. Yeah. And then and this collection was also Ryan's idea, which is what makes it so fun.
Have the ideas, none of the artistic abilities.
But it's really fun. So you can wear one, you can wear me, you can wear Ryan, you can wear our pets, or you can wear all three of us, which doesn't sound weird or creepy at all.
Right.
And then finally, we will end on our Aloreing alignment compass. So, I put it as more like a neutral good, because I don't really follow any laws, and they're not chaotic. They're just people that are kind-hearted, But that's how I felt. My opinion of brownies after reading the story has not changed. Because sometimes it does.
So I couldn't figure it out. So I left mine here on the side. Because they just like kind of vibe, like they're not necessarily, I think they're just like, they're the most pure neutral thing I could think about. Because I mean, they do have their moments of like being bad, but then they also, most of the time, they're just being messed with by like the Odin and Thor and Loki, and they're kind of trapped. So I'm gonna go with neutral, like right smack dab in the middle.
True neutral.
I don't think I can.
Neutral.
True neutral.
Okay. No, we had some delightful little folk today.
Yeah.
Quite literally, tiny little creatures.
Tiny but mighty.
Oh, tiny but mighty. That will be the episode title. Because I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Aloreing.
Have an alluring day, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Aloreing. Music by Lane Hammonds. Special thanks to Alex Higgins for help with our audio this season. Check out his podcast, What Happened in Vegas, available on all platforms. Check out our website and blog at aloreing.com. That's ALOREING.com. If you have questions, folklore, cryptid sightings, or urban legends you would like us to discuss, email us at aloreing@gmail.com. If you liked this show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcast. It's the best way to help support us and spread the word. Another way to show your support and have access to bonus content not posted anywhere else, visit our Patreon page today. All links are available on our website and Instagram.